Dear friends, scientifically, this is not a climate crisis. We are now facing something deeper. Mass extinction, air pollution, undermining ecosystem functions, really putting humanity's future at risk. This is a planetary crisis.
This is a safety crisis, but above all, it is also a justice crisis. Many areas in the world are uninhabitable. This uninhabitable zone is increasing. If we continue with our greenhouse gas emissions, then by 2070, as many as 3 billion people will live in uninhabitable zones.
Yeah, that's not alarmist or fear-mongering at all. It's just elites who fly on private jets telling us we need to sacrifice more to, save the world. Welcome back, extra beautiful, extra amazing human beings here to this special We Are Change broadcast where we will be focusing on some of the major absurdities in our society, doing, of course, a deep dive on all the latest breaking news, but specifically talking about the bigger bombshells at Davos 2023, and there's a lot of them, and a lot of very other interesting things happening right now in the making of this video, as well as Elon Musk making his voice heard about this matter. We're going to be talking about that, plus a lot more, all here on this independent media broadcast. If you like the shirt that I'm wearing, you could get it at BidenFetterman.com. Yes, it's an actual website, and the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast was originally shared by @AntiWEF, a Twitter account that, of course, is detailing what's happening at Davos right now without the PR, marketing, and billions of dollars of propaganda spent to whitewash a lot of the larger emotional psyops that are engineered for the benefits of many of those in attendance. Now, what's very interesting about this conference is they keep talking about the environment, the climate, and how it's an emergency, and we need more money, we need more investment, we need to stop damaging the environment, as literally those same kind of individuals are calling for more war and the prolongment of war, as of course today Henry Kissinger came out, the man who of course is known as the Butcher of Cambodia, an absolutely ruthless human rights violator, who came out today and said that Ukraine should actually join NATO, which, quote, would be an appropriate outcome. Of course, creating and talking about a situation that would plunge us into World War III. All of this as today we're also finding out that the Pentagon can't account for roughly $220 billion in equipment and weaponry. Where did that money go? What's going on here? Whose hands is this weaponry and equipment in right now? Well, that's a good question here, and we're not even asking about Ukraine, where of course there's a lot of other accountability errors, corrupted politicians that have led to even CBS News reporting how much of the aid and equipment sent to Ukraine doesn't even get to its original destination in many instances. This says today we're also finding out that the United States is expected to announce one of its largest military packages to Ukraine, which of course will only prolong this larger proxy conflict between the East and the West. And statistically, when you look at the data, when you look at all this climate change alarmist stuff, the thing that accumulates to the most carbon emissions is the military-industrial complex. It's the U.S. war machine. It's war. It's one of the worst things for all of us, not just the poorest people in this world. And we have to start asking ourselves, why isn't the impact to climate being addressed here when it comes to prolonging and expanding a war? But it is, for me, using a gas stove or driving a diesel car. That makes no sense at all. And as the U.S. government becomes more and more aggressive, especially with their foreign policy, domestically, there's a similar situation brewing, as Democratic Representative Sheila Jackson Lee just introduced a bill into the Congress that would make white people criticizing minorities a federal crime. Yes, you heard that correctly. Congresswoman Jackson Lee wants to reinstitute, bring back, and implement the Patriot Act against white people for criticizing minorities. Now, of course, if minorities criticize white people, that's okay. That's not a federal crime. But if you dare talk about things like the Great Replacement, which the corporate media and many Democratic Congress members talk about openly themselves, they cheer on that policy. But if you dare address it in some kind of critical fashion, Congresswoman Jackson wants you in jail. Will this law pass? Well, probably not, but with how absurd our modern day society is, it wouldn't surprise me with how emboldened the current political class is that they would move forward on something as ridiculous as this. As of right now, they have absolutely no shame in introducing draconian, hypocritical, nonsensical, anti-free speech legislation like Congresswoman Lee just did. All of this as on the other side of the aisle, we're talking about the former president of the United States potentially returning to Twitter. This, according to the latest rumors being shared online, as the former president of the United States has just announced that Lindsey Graham is on his presidential re-election team. Yes, you heard that correctly. This absolutely doesn't make sense. This, as the former president of the United States also endorsed McCarthy and is making a lot of mainline establishment swamp policies that, of course, many people have been questioning the validity of, and we question that a lot more on LukeUncensored.com because we have a lot more to say about this topic, but we cannot say it here. We have our own platform where we get to say and do what we want, and we're going to be doing a very special video later on today, only available for members, as well as continuing our AMA, talking to all of you incredible, amazing human beings. Lots of tips, lots of important information, lots of insight, lots of behind the scenes dirt and juicy details, only available to, of course, members who are now participating through our open conversation and AMA, which will continue in today's latest video. I will see you there right after this broadcast, as of course there is still so much important news to talk about, specifically Davos, which very interestingly we're finding out about many A-listers canceling the last-minute participation in this globalist confab meeting, as well as a lot of reports about empty chairs and people actually not showing up to the conference. And what, being lectured by hypocritical globalists that fly on private jets, ship in prostitutes for their own personal benefit and parties, while lecturing you about how horrible you are and how they need laws that they will never follow themselves, is something that people don't want to listen to? Huh. I mean, who wouldn't want to see amazing, spectacular discourse like this?
For anybody watching online, I'm just going to do a bit of audio description. I'm a blonde, white woman from Ireland wearing a very ludicrously green top with a black sort of sweatshirt. For anybody...
Yeah, I think I'm going to be doing the introduction of my video tomorrow exactly that same way. This is very interestingly, Elon Musk has been speaking out against the World Economic Forum on his own platform, Twitter, specifically responding to a thread on the World Economic Forum saying, quote, "The S in ESG stands for satanic," going on and detailing how the World Economic Forum gives him the willies, and he not only was talking about how he was invited and declined to go, but specifically now responding to a video from the World Economic Forum with Klaus Schwab talking about how the metaverse could be trusted because of Interpol being involved in it. Elon Musk responded to this particular video by saying, quote, "The World Economic Forum is increasingly becoming an unelected world government that people never asked for and don't want." A response with tens of thousands of likes in the making of this video, millions of impressions, as Elon Musk has even done a poll right now in the making of this video asking if the World Economic Forum should control the world, which surprisingly 14% of people said yes. And hey, some people just like being told what to do. You can't really do anything about this situation, as of course it's important to note here that Klaus Schwab has openly bragged about infiltrating governments with his global young leaders. He has talked about instituting policies and predicted how the world will no longer be run by sovereign independent countries like America, but of course, internationalist, globalist, confab organizations like the World Economic Forum stakeholder model, involving, of course, BlackRock and individuals like Bill Gates.
Certain advantages because you can mobilize in a concentrated way a lot of resources to reach a specific objective. But I believe that the future is not state capitalism or shareholder capitalism. The future is what I call stakeholder capitalism, which is combined with the social responsibility.
Now, what are some of the efforts that they're going to be consolidating their resources on? Well, of course, from the conference and many of their open platitudes, they do have a problem with things like speech. As of course, U.S. Representative Joe Manchin was even in attendance at this meeting talking about the problems of an open press system. Other Davos elites are talking about the problems of people eating nutritious meat that hasn't been sullied by Bill Gates. They're talking about how everyone will have to have mandatory sustainability reports of how much carbon they use, while calling for the elimination of free speech, the promotion and advancement of big pharma, and of course, funneling a huge amount of money into their causes, their organizations, and their businesses that will greatly profit and benefit off of the hypocrisy, rules, laws, and regulations that they themselves will never follow. And you know we're living in an upside-down world where even individuals like Brian Stetler are hosting panels on disinformation. And essentially what Elon Musk is talking about and warning about here is very real. As of course, a lot of the goals, a lot of the objectives, a lot of the prophecies, and draconian principles that have eliminated personal freedom and economic prosperity are slowly and surely being implemented here. A couple of years ago, Klaus Schwab was talking about how we need to stop owning and having cars, and now there's entire dedicated conversations and even projects going on right now in the United Kingdom where they essentially are setting up, quote, sustainable neighborhoods where you won't be able to leave them without government permission. You won't be able to drive from one neighborhood to another one, all in the name of helping the environment. And this is leading down a road of total totalitarian, Big Brother Orwellian centralized control of society, which is exactly what's happening in China, which Klaus Schwab said is the model for the world. What future are they building? What are they talking about when they talk about stakeholder capitalism? They're talking about them having more, you having less, and they're doing this with emotionally based propaganda, manipulation techniques, without any kind of approval, without any kind of consensus, without any kind of vote, without any kind of democratic process, as they themselves are saying, we're just gonna do what the hell they want. And the larger question is, are you going to be going along with it? Well, will you? Let me know down in the comment section below. Sharing this video means the world to me, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys actively watching and sharing this video. This is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org. One more video coming your way right now on lukeuncensored.com. See you there.